Around the time Kreku and Clover went to patrol Main Street, Shakti and Adri went to patrol Gnosis. Why does he shout? If you asked him, the man would say only this. I am Ganesha. At the end of the day, there is no reason. I am Ganesha. Whoa, shut up. But hey, I feel better already. Thanks, Ganesha. I am Ganesha. Shut up already. But suddenly my worries seem so insignificant now. Thank you so much, Ganesha. I am Ganesha. Shut the hell up. Oh, but look, you scared that mugger right off. Cheers, Ganesha. We are Ganesha. Seriously, shut the hell up. But wow, we feel our strength returning. Thanks again, Ganesha. Day after day, the elephant-masked god took to the streets, spiriting the townsfolk with his rousing voice. But man, was it annoying. Arti and Shakti watched him from afar. What do you think, sis? Asked the younger sibling with a beaming smile on her face. Should we stop him, or not? Don't talk to me. Just, don't talk to me. Then I don't have to ask. Ask me what? Shakti responded. Well lately I've noticed that Token doesn't have a magical staff like most mages do, so I was wondering if I could slip off to find him one. Why him specifically? He doesn't really need one, he's already pretty strong even without his magic, and when he uses it he never goes all out with it. Adri tilted her head in confusion. Wait, what? You mean he doesn't even go all out with it? That doesn't sound like something he'd do. It does if you really know about why he doesn't primarily use it. Both of them stood there silent. On that note, I'd like to ask you to stop sneaking into his room at night. If the roles were reversed you'd be pretty mad about it. Sis, we both know that's not true, she said, causing Shakti to groan and roll her eyes. That leaves me with a glaring question. Why do you sneak into his bed and only his bed? Do you have a thing for Kreku or something? You realize that he's 3 years younger than you. Adri's face tensed up as she blushes. No, not at all. I mean, I think he's super cute, but I think lots of things are cute. I think puppies are cute, kittens are cute, even Leon is cute. Okay, just checking. How do you feel about Clover then? He's cool and all, but he is a bit of a troublemaker, yet for some reason Token would rather hang out with him than me. It's not fair, she pouts. Suddenly a bunch of people who were covered in blood and burn marks were running across in the opposite direction, screaming in a panic. Get the hell out of here if you value your life, said an animal person. Excuse me sir, I know you're in terrible shape, but can you please tell me what happened? Adri asked, pulling out a small vial to heal him with. It's those Evelis almost done us in. Our party was on our way to the dungeon when they tried to mug us for everything we had. We were pathetic enough for a kid to have to rescue us, 2 of them in fact. Both of them knew who they were talking about instantly. We thought they'd driven them out for now, but out of nowhere some crazy werewolf lady claiming to be his sister came and started burning everything down, he shouts. His sister? But Token doesn't have a sister, he's an only child. Shakti's face turned pale upon hearing that. Adri, go to Main Street and see what's going on. Everyone else assist in evacuating the civilians. The god had arrived at a shady-looking shop located off a side street branching from Northwest Main Street. After many turns, a descent down a staircase, and a warped wooden door. The shop itself was decently spacious, but a bit dim. Magic stone lamps designed to look like fireballs hung from the ceiling. The shelves built into the walls housed jars filled with snakes, frogs, scorpions, and other off-putting insects. Something seemed to be simmering in a black cauldron in the back of the shop, judging from the red steam rising from it. I am Ganesha, he said, flexing his arm. We know, if you're just gonna scream then please leave. He saw an item on the shelf that piqued his interest. A slender magic wand, its tip adorned with a tiny, glowing blue gemstone. How much does this cost? He asked. Back on Main Street, Kreku was still trembling with anxiety and he struggled to move. Once he locked eyes with the woman on the rooftop, it's like his body became numb. Kreku, snap out of it, Clover cried, shaking him back and forth. I'm sorry, but I can't get near her. She's dangerous, quite possibly the most dangerous person I've ever encountered. Leave me behind and make sure the civilians are okay. And what about you? The archer asked. It's the end for me, I can't go against her. The wolf woman leapt down from and landed in front of them. A stunning anime wolf woman with dark, rich melanin skin tone, adorned in a black, worn, and torn leather jacket that hints at her tumultuous past, showcasing her athletic yet slender physique, rippling with defined muscles, and covered in a myriad of scars, each telling a story of struggle and resilience. Her facial features sharp and defined, her angry purple eyes blazing with an inner intensity, like amethysts burning with an inner fire, her sharp jawline and prominent cheekbones accentuating her fierce expression, her dark hair wild and unkempt, framing her face like a dark halo, with a few stray locks falling across her forehead, adding to her mysterious and brooding aura. Well, time to go back home now. I'm not gonna ask you more than once, could you please listen to me for once? Kreiku lowered his spear and he started walking towards her before Clover dragged him back. Clover, let me go, I'm not supposed to be here, just go away and forget about me, he said with a trembling voice. And what, leave you alone to suffer at the hands of this woman I know nothing about? I may not understand what's going on here, but I know when something isn't right. If she is who she says she is, you shouldn't be afraid of her. Clover loads his crossbow as his eyes narrowed at her. Kreiku, what about your father? What would he say if you suddenly disappeared again? Clover asked. Kreiku snapped out of it as he started to realize he was going to end up leaving his dad behind if he just went willingly with Diana. Your father, she said with a concerned look as she checked her surroundings as if she was suddenly concerned about something. Where is your father? Is he here right now? Clover grew suspicious of her mentioning his dad. I knew you were lying about being his older sister. You're all of a sudden worried about his dad showing up because you know he'd beat you up. Also, you said his dad and not our dad, which you would have had you actually been related to him. Besides, he's fully human and you aren't, right, Kreiku? Kreiku shook his head in denial. No, Clover, every word she said is true. Well, half true at least. Yes, although we don't have the same father, we are unfortunately related by blood. Before Papa Mama was married to a werewolf and I've met him once. Clover was in shock as he explained that to him. Oh. That's what you get for assuming things, you little punk, she said in a condescending tone. I assumed you weren't his sister because no sibling should make their younger siblings feel real genuine fear. I've known him for at least a month and I've seen him show no fear towards most dangers, yet he's not even capable of speaking clearly around you. What have you done to him? She scoffed. I didn't do anything, he's just overly sensitive and needs to grow up and learn to accept the truth. Need to grow up? He's 9 years old, the hell are you talking about? We have some more work to do, Kreiku, we'll talk about this later, but I'm not letting you go anywhere with her, Clover said as he grabbed the mage's hand and vacated the area. What about the Evolus? He asked. I think we should cut our losses for now. They're unconscious and they won't be able to hurt anyone for a while at least, but you're not acting like yourself right now and I wanna know what that woman did to you. Kreiku seemed very embarrassed about this situation. Kreiku, are you really gonna go with this stranger rather than your own sister, your family? She asked angrily. Diana, you remember what you did? I don't think I can trust you anymore. You hurt me far too many times, and I've made friends that don't treat me like garbage, he said hesitantly. Okay, so I roughed you up a bit, but you were being disrespectful and talking back to me and you needed to learn some respect. You have Falna, so it's not like you die. Clover raised his crossbow but Kreiku held it down. Don't waste your strength on her. She's not worth it. Besides, she's too dangerous for either of us to deal with. It's best to walk away. He said, trembling with fear. If you don't do what I tell you to, I'll order the soldiers I brought and rain down hell on this entire area. His eyes widened with shock. What are you talking about? You have no soldiers. I'm not falling for any more lies. Goodbye. She punches the ground. Okay, so maybe I don't have any soldiers, but I am gonna burn this place down. You're lying. You'd never hurt innocent people for petty reasons. You're mean, but you're not absolutely evil. She raised her hand. Dark fire. She shot multiple balls of fire at the buildings and they caught on fire and the flames began consuming the area. No, what have you done? Kreiku cried out, as he raised his hand and shot multiple balls of water to counter the flames. Don't do that, stop resisting me at once. No, do what you want to me, but you are gonna leave them out of this. He said angrily as he started reverting to his old self. She then aimed another fireball at a little kid with cat ears and his mother tried to shield him from the blast of fire. That boy is going to die because of you and your attitude. Kreiku raised his hand and he blasted it directly with a water arrow and the purple flames turned into steam right before it hit the cat box and his mother. Kreiku exhaled a sigh of relief. You almost killed a boy. He was just a kid who was minding his own business and you tried to kill him for no reason. He glares at her with righteous fury. Anyone who tries to hurt the city of Oryaro is gonna pay. Kreiku rushed at her and landed a devastating flying sidekick to her face, and she was sent flying into the air and landed on her back. She immediately recovered from that attack and glares at him with a bleeding nose, and she pulled out 2 daggers and started to attack him, and he paired out of the way trying to avoid getting hit, but a spear flew in between them and Kreiku catches it before he clashed blades with his evil ex-sister. Kreiku lead her through the city chasing after him as they fought in an attempt to lure her away from Main Street. He hoped to find an area with no civilians, or at least people who were strong enough to protect themselves. But he couldn't simply hope that his friends could save him. He didn't want to be saved, he wanted to do the saving for everyone else. If there's anything he hated more than anything else, it was being a helpless victim, and being afraid of Diana reminded him how that felt, and that angered him. Diana, this is about us, it's always been about us, so why do that to them? The civilians of Oryaro are not like us, they're not even like how we used to be. They're non-combative people, they die from a fireball from the weakest magic user, he said as she was doing an X block with her red daggers. I knew you'd be able to save them, I just wanted to scare you into submission. What if I didn't save them? If I didn't do that before it hit them, you would have had blood on your hands. There's enough people out here getting killed, so why on earth would you try to make it worse by doing this yourself? I can't believe I allowed you to go this far, but no more. I refuse to be afraid of you anymore. He stepped back then to the side to strike her down before she jumped into the air with great urgency and then kicked him in the face with a roundhouse while in mid-air, and he staggered back before she drove her knife towards his head and he fucked under her blade, and Kreiku freed his left hand to punch her directly in her solar plexus with a karate punch before she counters with a strike, but he narrowly evades it and got a cut on his left cheek. However, Diana whirled by him, driving the butt end of her dagger into Kreiku's face on the way. The boy's strike hit nothing but empty air, and his face burned in pain. The world shook for a second for Kreiku, but he was quick to regain his bearings. Planting his feet, he turned to face Diana, who was already behind him. There was no pattern, Kreiku had no idea where the next attack would come from. What's more, the woman combined a few violent kicks with his relentless assault, knocking the boy off balance and making the next attack even harder to predict. Ouch, no matter, he splashes a potion on his cheek, but for some reason, this wound doesn't heal. Oh yeah, didn't you know, these aren't regular weapons, but cursed weapons. Clover's face turned pale upon hearing that, cursed weapon. What are you talking about? What did you do to me? Custom ordered it from a mage. It's got a curse built in. Whatever it cuts won't heal, not even with potions or magic. As long as the curses are intact, anyway. Quote exclamation mark quote. Shock was written all over his face. Another wave of cold sweat ran down his neck at the same time. No matter how many times he wiped the blood away, it wouldn't clot. Diana's claim was true. The blood dripped from his cheek, staining his skin and armor red. There was no way to recover from even one hit, it truly was a cursed weapon. No way, I knew you were a bully, but to use such a weapon. Don't worry Kreiku, I gathered all my arrows, so you won't have to face her alone, Clover said, aiming at her. Actually he will, unless you want my friends to kill everyone else. I'm not falling for it Diana, Kreiku said. Unfortunately, much like her unpredictable fighting style, how much truth each statement she makes has is unpredictable as well. A menacing armed villainous figure stands tall, shrouded in a dark, flowing black cloak with intricate silver trim, its heavy folds billowing behind them, and a matching black cowl, a mask that almost entirely covers up their face. And many others like him followed suit and revealed themselves. What in the world? One of them drives their spear towards Clover, who pulled out a knife and redirected it at the last second. But he was promptly kicked square in the chest and he went through the air before he fell flat on his face. Clover. He got back up and shot an arrow in the leader's shoulder. The rest of you know what to do, Diana said, snapping her fingers. Her gesture was the signal for the last few remains of her unit, who had been hiding in the wings all along. From seemingly everywhere at once came the sound and force of explosions. Og! The earth shook, debris rained down from above, and everywhere people screamed and ran. Diana had been keeping one last trick hidden up her sleeve. Magic swords. The woman's mad laughter echoed like thunder. It traveled down the streets, mingling with the sounds of chaos, and reached the ears of the two adventurers. I hear screams, and explosions. said Ryu, spinning around. What's going on? Come on, Leon, let's move. Before they even had time to be surprised, an elf and a red-headed girl took off like the wind. Kreiku stood in front of her, glaring daggers at her with righteous fury boiling over from within. You monster, how far are you willing to go just to make sure you get what you want? He asked aggressively. Mom would hate what you've become. Her purple eyes flashed dangerously as she charged towards him with him narrowly blocking. Clover was completely overwhelmed with the new cloaked figures and was on the verge of losing his life. Kreiku looking away would result in his life but lost, but his inaction will result in Clover losing his life. Think you can be a hero? Look around you. She punched him in the back of his head, and slammed his face into the ground, and she held his hand up. This isn't the Orero your father's been preaching about. The time of the Titans is over now. Living here is like not possible. There's no room for heroes anymore, they all died years ago. So you think a small punk who runs away from his family and responsibilities is gonna change anything? You ain't nothing, and this place shows me how much I got on you. You're lucky I don't take your head off. The woman's mad laughter echoed like thunder. It traveled down the streets, mingling with the sounds of chaos, and reached the ears of the two adventurers. Demon, came a voice. The attack speed was on par with a level 2 adventurer. Diana knew at that moment she wouldn't be able to dodge, so instead she reached beneath her jacket and drew out a short sword. Let him go right now. A red-headed girl raised his sword above her head, and Diana ended up using Kreiku as a shield, believing that she was gonna fall for it. As if I'd fall for something like that. A green swift figure blitzes past them and struck her in the side of her head with a wooden blade before she released him, and she grabbed him before Elise struck her off guard, and a shockwave sent her crashing into the wall and blood gushed from her mouth. Ryu held him in her arms. Kreiku, speak to me. Wake up, it's Leon, don't give up on me now. The wolf woman struggled with standing up. Okay, who's the miserable brat that put their hands on? Silence, replied Ryu, furious. This was supposed to be a simple day. How dare you come and spill blood in this place? Any reservations you might have had about stabbing a defenseless target in the back were gone when it came to this foe. Elise, meanwhile, landed a short distance away and immediately lunged once more with her straight sword to follow up her failed attack. You shall pay dearly for this, she shouted, guided by a burning rage. We will strike you down where you stand. Diana's face went pale, but out of this is a family matter, she claimed. Family matter? You're killing innocent people. Elise shouts, Gah, help him, help the kid, that woman is his half-sister and she's playing mind games to make Kreiku slip up. I know he would have taken her down otherwise, he passed out. Wait, no, Ryu shouted, Meru. Help him with your magic. Kreiku weakly opened his eyes. I'm sorry everyone, I couldn't stop her, she had too many dirty tricks up her sleeve, her weapons they're not normal. Another hand ran across his cheek and he felt a powerful stinging sensation. Let me guess, you got hit by a cursed weapon so you choked when you found out that you couldn't heal with magic, Lyra guessed. I actually didn't have a chance to use healing magic, for some reason it's the only form of magic that I still need incantations for, but yes, how do you know? He asked. Kid, I've been doing this for a while now, but luckily for you there's a way to fix that. She took out 2 vials and splashed them on his face and body and the wound started to heal itself. But I thought nothing could. Anti-curse, it undoes the effects of the cursed weapons, but it takes forever to make, so don't expect to always have it to bail you out. Kreiku pulled himself up. No Kreiku, this time it's you that they want, and we can't allow anything to happen to you, Lyra said, stopping him from getting involved. But if it wasn't for me then she wouldn't be here right now. Her face went blank. Boy, she's evil, she doesn't care if you go with her or not, she'll hurt other people regardless. You're a fool if you believe anything she tells you, Kagaya said in the harshest tone she could muster up. But I'm still responsible and need to take her. He was punched in the jaw and chopped in the back of his neck and knocked unconscious. Kagaya, what the actual hell was that? You'd knock out a kid while he's crying, none of this is his fault. Ryu shouted. Don't you think I know that? But look at the state he was in. If he stayed in the fight for a minute longer he would have fallen for another one of her mind games and surrendered himself to her. It's the same pattern with family members who are controlling, guilting, attacking their insecurities and isolating them from the people who actually have enough sense to see what they're really doing. She realized that Kagaya didn't enjoy what she did, but she thought it was the only way to prevent him from doing something he'd soon regret. Rookie, take him far, far away from here. Ryu stood up carrying the unconscious boy on her back, and she looked at Elise. She's right, Leon, he's far too young to realize that she's truly far gone, but in the long run he'll be able to realize what she's doing. Hurry back because we'll need all the help we can get. Kreiku's paw. Diana was always hard on me. I knew she was a terrible person, but nobody wanted to believe it, and I don't think I wanted to believe it. I'm not sure when it all started. She's been in my life for so long that it feels like it came out of nowhere. In one of my earliest memories of her, we'd love to play together. I think the first game we ever played was Dungeons and Dragons, which seems super boring now that I've been to the actual dungeon, although I haven't seen a single dragon yet. She seemed like she loved having me around. We were not only siblings but best friends. She was there when I missed my mom when she was still going to school. She played the villain when I wanted to be the Argonaut, and most importantly, we both snuck cookies from the cookie jar when mom wasn't looking, and both got grounded for it. One night later we caught her sneaking cookies from the cookie jar, and she ungrounded us if we promised not to mention it to Dad, who is against doing things he tells us not to do. I thought she was the coolest person, because she knew how to fight. Everything for me changed the day I started going to my aunt's house. She's super nice and we have a lot of things in common. Auntie Irene is a mage similar to me, and when I say similar to me I mean it. She told me about the old days, about how she and Dad wanted to become adventurers and use their talents to help complete the 3 great quests. I know one of them is to kill the black dragon, but she never told me about the other 2 because she claimed it would give me nightmares. One day I got bored and I asked her if there was anything I could read since I'm a major bookworm, and she told me to check the attic. I found a spell book that she used to use and I tested it out, and that was the first time I used my magic. I used my new magical abilities in secret, but Diana caught me one day and she was quite angry with me, and she said if I told anyone about it then Mom and Dad would send me into a war zone to die. I cried a lot that night and Mom kept asking me what was wrong, but I was too scared to tell her. So I thought about avoiding Auntie, even though I really liked her and thought she was cool, but Dad said that she'd be sad not to see me anymore, so I kept visiting her for the next year, and my curiosity got the better of me, so I kept messing around with her spell book, and I eventually discovered that I could use spells without incantations, which freaked me out at first, but I thought it was really cool. I even used it to prank Diana without her ever knowing it was me. Then I discovered a really cool spell known as Aqua Cannon, but it packed more of a punch than I expected, and I destroyed my aunt's attic and I felt so guilty about it. No one suspected that I had done it, but I felt so guilty and upset that I broke down crying and begged them not to disown me. I thought they would literally kill me, but Auntie was happy to have another mage in the family and called me a genius. I had to do exactly what she told me to make up for destroying her storage, so I started taking magic lessons from her, which I didn't mind doing. And I ended up spending more and more time with her, and that's the story of how I got my magical power. I thought it was cool how I got my magic without getting Falna, especially after Auntie said only a select few people are capable of casting spells without it. But after I completed my basic magic training, Diana's attitude towards me began to change. She began to treat me more harshly, making comments about how I was rewarded for destroying public property. She even started taking my stuff without asking, my books, my toys, my quills and paper, and I would be punished for getting upset with her because we're family, but if I did the same thing I'd be grounded. She doesn't want to teach me how to fight anymore since she said mages shouldn't fight, but I learned anyway and I got pretty good at it. She started attacking me at home to prove karate was a waste of time, but left me alone for a while after I judo slammed her for the first time. Mom was definitely gonna ground me, but Dad said she attacked first, so she should be the one getting punished, and called her out for unfairly punishing me all the time, and Mom and Dad got into a heated argument over it. Diana was grounded for the first time, but she took out her anger on me physically every time my dad wasn't around and told me that I'd make my parents hate each other if they found out, but Dad found out anyway and he decided that he couldn't be with Mama anymore. Mama pleaded with him, but he said he wouldn't stay with her until she started shaping up and stopped letting Diana beat me up all the time. Mom claims she doesn't let her, but said how much I tend to upset her. My dad exploded at her saying that she is way older than me and she is old enough to know right from wrong, and he decided that he would take me to someplace that'll be safe for me, and she was already reported to the village chief and he decided that he is a better fit for me to live with. So I stopped living with my mother and dad grandpa and I got ready to go someplace else. Diana called me the boy who runs away because I ran away from her and mama, but I thought I'd be running away from papa. Papa was always the one who took care of me and made sure I was safe, and he was furious with Diana and mama when he found out that I was getting bullied and nothing was being done about it. I remember when he apologized for allowing it to go on under his watch. We both tried to join the Loki family but that didn't work out. Papa already joined during a different trip, but I got rejected by their goddess Loki. It was because something happened to another little girl that joined the Loki family recently, and she ended up being so messed up that she was afraid of large amounts of water for some reason. After she told my dad that he was too scared of me ending up like her. I got so mad that I ran away. I felt really bad about it afterwards. Then before I got cornered by Jura and Rudra Familia's members in an alleyway, and I beat them up, that's when I met Clover for the first time. I actually tried to save him, but he was setting up a trap and already hatched an escape plan. We ended up fighting together and caught them. And that's the day I met Shakti and Adri for the first time. I thought coming to Orero would change me, but in the end I was proving her right. I was just a boy who ran away. In fact, it's what I'm doing right now as Leon carries me in her arms as we run across the city. OCRAIKU, my heart sank as I heard that terrifying voice. Come out and play with me. You remember the golden days, and you used to be such a good little boy too. Before your aunt started poisoning your mind, she has to be the most naive delusional woman I've ever met. I clenched my fists and I got ready to charge back out there. But Leon held me down. Kreku, cooperate, she's trying to rile you up to make you go after her. Don't fall for it, she said, covering my mouth. I wanted to call her a bunch of names, even some bad words I'm not allowed to say. Leon, let me go, you don't understand. I have to take her down before she hurts someone. All I ever do is make things worse, so let me not run from my responsibilities for once. It shouldn't be your responsibility in the first place. You are 9 years old. Yes, elf, meaning he's old enough to understand that he needs to do what I tell him to do. Oh yeah, not if I have anything to say about it. Just wait right where you are and I'll come over and give you the fight you're looking for, Ryu said with sharp eyes. You don't even know me that well. Why are you okay with risking your life for such a troublemaker? I asked as I clung to her cape. She looked down at me with conviction. Because you'd do the same thing for me, and don't tell me you wouldn't. I will get this bully out of your life for good. Sir Tight, my friend. She pulled up her mask and she stormed out there to face Diana. Letting other people fight your battles for you, little brother, is still a coward and a little. That's enough out of you. She struck her across the face, but she quickly regained her footing and started attacking her with the knives, but she was blocking them with great efficiency. Don't you understand why this is all happening? Why I'm here? If not for him I wouldn't be here. If he had just went with me over a month ago, a lot more people would be trafficked or dead. And you said he was running from his responsibilities, but you're spitting out nothing but nonsense. He's not the one running from responsibility, you are. Ryu shouted furiously as the two of them clashed blades. The lives that are currently being ended. Because of him. Ended. Ever since he came here he's done nothing but save lives. He reunited a little boy with his mother when he was about to get sold out to the entertainment district for, I can't even imagine what they'd do to him. I recalled the day I rescued that little boy from evil's clutches. I did help that little guy, and if I wasn't there, he probably would have been snatched up. He risked his life and his efforts prevented a mother from losing her child. Does that not mean anything to you? Are you so concerned about controlling your own brother that you don't even care about the fact he's helping people? Narrator. Ryu poured her entire being into evasion. And counter-attacking, utilizing every opportunity to strike. The werewolf was leaving her. I've been an adventurer for only 2 months and I'm currently keeping up with you. If I can keep up with you, then you're not as powerful as you seem. She snarled and spun around, deflecting her wooden sword, and struck her across her chest, causing blood to fly everywhere. Kreku frets when he tries coming out from the alleyway, but Leon gives him a pleading expression. It was basically telling him, if you come out here she will double you in. Halfway across town in the shopping district, Adri was fighting her way to get to her friends while trying to lead people away from the purple flames. Got him, replied Artie. The girl abhorred violence, but she was a level 1 adventurer all the same. Her one-handed sword, Sacred Oath, was the judge and executioner of many monsters and villains. She raised it above her head and unleashed a vicious onslaught that flung the soldiers of the evils to the ground before they even had a chance to attack. Adri, said an elephant-masked deity standing in beside her. Lord Genisha, what are you doing out here? All gods must take shelter from the Evelys, if something happens to you. Ah! Cried an adventurer that crashed into the wall and fell flat on her back. A wolf woman came towards her in order to finish the job, but a little boy ran out from the alleyway and grabbed her from behind, trying to restrain her. I know your little grubby hands did not just touch me just now. She elbows him multiple times and then knees him in the stomach, causing him to go flying. Always trying to play the hero even though you're the cause of everyone's problems, she started stepping on his head. Adri saw this and was angered by it. Token, he's just a kid and she doesn't even care. Who is this woman, and who does she think she is? Although she applauded violence, she was not opposed to doing what's needed to defend her friends. Adri, wait, use this to boost your healing magic, he said, handing her a wand with a silver lining and blue gemstone. She takes it and rushed towards her, and she sent Diana flying into a nearby building. Hang on Token, it's going to be okay, she pointed the wand at him. To my fallen comrades, rise again, please let me be a friend, and bring your strength back and allow it to ascend Dia Kamudi. Blue sparks began washing over him and he got back up, but he was still very weak. You wasted it all on me, Leon's the one who almost died protecting me. She was right, I am the bringer of disaster. I appreciate you looking out for me, and I'll always be your friend, but I think it's time for me to go home. He said as he went to approach his sister. Not so fast, young man, I don't remember the boy who said he'd eliminate Evelys and end the Dark Age being such a quitter. Said a loud voice. But I'm the reason she's even here to begin with, if I never showed up. Do you actually believe that? Think about it, you've been here for over a month and she never came looking for you, doesn't that sound a little suspicious, he claimed. You better not buy it, Kreku, I will burn down everything in this area if you don't listen to me. I wouldn't have done any of this if you listened to me, Diana said, standing up. She's lying about it. Genisha's face was stern. No, I'm not, she denied strongly, but the god remains quiet. You can't lie in the presence of a deity, she's been lying to you the whole time. Kreku's eyes widened with shock and disbelief. Diana's face turned pale. Well, what are you gonna do about it, because all you've ever done is run away from your responsibilities. She's lying again, don't you see, Token? She's putting things in your head to make you do things you don't want to do. That's what villains like her do, they don't have a lot of physical power so they manipulate others into submission. If you left with her, she wouldn't have held up her end of the bargain, am I right? She started sweating intensely. Well, is it true that you've been lying to me for this entire time? He asked her. Okay fine, I admit it. I have been a little dishonest, but I only did it because I knew you wouldn't be able to handle the truth about Orero being a more dangerous place and your delusional world would crumble apart. He started glaring at her. Don't look at me like that. Are you serious? Sure, I'm not happy about the situation with the Evelys, but if you're putting people in danger just to prove a point, you're the bad guy here, and you lied to my face when you were out here hurting innocent people, and you had the nerve to blame me for everything. How could you? Okay, I'm sorry for lying, just come home with me. She said in an unapologetic tone. I am home, Diana, it's not perfect but I'm gonna make a difference, even if it takes years to accomplish. If you don't want to accept that, then that's your problem, but you better get out of the city. She was dead silent and Kreku turned to his god. I'm sorry I nearly gave up on you, can you ever forgive me for letting her fool me? He said, bowing his head. There's nothing to forgive you for, you trusted her because she's been around for so long, that's not something I can fault you for. If you want to make it up to me, you can say I'm a rising star in the mirror 100 times for a week, he frets. Adri started to treat Ryu and tied up her wound so she wouldn't bleed out. Kreku profusely apologized to her for being so scared and submissive towards Diana. Do not worry, breaking off things with someone who was supposed to be your family is difficult. But a purple ball of fire hits Adri and Ryu, and both had serious burns on their backs, and they turned around and saw her snarling at them like she was an unhinged demon. You meddling deity and bitches ruined everything. You couldn't just let me take my brother home. You don't treat him like a little brother, you treat him like a slave, and you're not fit to call yourself his older sister. You should be ashamed of yourself." Adri screamed as she fought back against her. "You have no idea what this miserable little brat has put me through. Because of him our home is broken and I have to move to another continent. The least he can do is suffer the consequences of his actions with me," she screamed before firing another ball of fire at her right before she blocked with sacred oath. "Token told me everything, so don't lie to me. You were the only one who broke up your family, not him. Because you couldn't even act like a decent older sister and viscously attacked him, his dad took him away from you and your mom. Token was only trying to protect himself, and it's not his responsibility to keep you under control, but yours. He's not the one running from responsibility, he's not the one who is delusional. You're the older sister, but he's way more mature than you." She does a somersault and kicks her in the face, and she crashes into the wall and fires 4 balls of fire at her. "So, now that you know the truth about her, what are you going to do now?" the deity asked Kreku as he was still recovering from the shock of the situation. But he was already gone. "No one talks to me like that and lives to see another day, now die." Kreku stood in front of Adri and extended his both hands, water arrows. He said as he fired 4-5 water arrows to intercept the fireballs, and a cloud of steam formed, confusing Diana before she got struck by a water arrow and was sent flying across the street. "Adri, stand down please, this is my responsibility," he said with a stern look. "Token, it's not your fault she's here, your sister isn't your responsibility." "But she's not my sister, whoever my sister was supposed to be, she died a long time ago. It's not my responsibility as her family member, but as a hero, or at least a vigilante training to be a hero. She's kicked my butt one too many times and I don't like being lied and made a fool of. For once I'm gonna put her in her place." Adri didn't see the scared little kid anymore, but the boy who was striving to become a hero. "Then you need to use this. You're a mage, right? So this will help you with her cursed daggers, and don't get up close unless her guard is completely down," Adri explained to him. "I don't like the idea of you fighting her, but for some reason, I know you can do it. Now go be a hero." With that, Kreku looked at his wounded friend and he took the wand out of her hand and he turned around to face Diana. "So you think making me think that I made you attempt to murder people is okay, but me saying no to you is an unforgivable sin?" he asked as he raised his wand to her. "Don't you dare point that wand at." She was immediately cut off by a large fireball that she was barely able to dodge. She has a large burn marks on her shoulder. "You wounded me," she said, sounding slightly betrayed, but Kreku was no longer buying her lies. "That was for burning my friends," he said as his wand's gemstone glows. "You can't just pick on people just because you're unhappy with the way things are. I have tolerated your nonsense long enough and it's time someone put you in your place. But as you said, this city is in shambles and this will likely go on for years. I'm only trying to protect you by showing you how cruel it would be if you stayed," she said, lying through her teeth. "And trying to kill an innocent woman with her child is gonna make me want to comply with you. You're as big a criminal as the Evelys now and I'm putting an end to it. But our family, your father stole you from us. And you're just going to throw a massive temper tantrum just because of I don't want to go anywhere with you anymore." She conjured up another fireball, something like that. Her fireball was cut off by a bunch of blasts of wind that kept knocking her down again and again as Kreku kept moving forward. "I can't keep this up forever, I gotta make her drop the knives," he thought. "Kreku, please, okay, I'm sorry, let's talk about it." Kreku flinched slightly and she rushed at him on all fours, then stood up with both knives ready to strike. "Stone cannonball," he shot it at her hands and there was a slight cracking sound as she blocked with both blades. He then withdrew his wand and wielded his spear. "I feel a little more comfortable with her movements. I think watching her fight gave me a good idea of how she moves. I'm taking you under arrest for attacking innocent people and for attempting to kidnap me under false pretenses. Lord Genisha, did I say that right? Couldn't said it better myself, but look out." She drives her knife towards him but he parried while he deflects it, then he raised his spear above his head and struck down. "That's not gonna work, little brother," Diana said confidently, blocking the spear with both knives in an X block. But the red blades started to crack more and more as Kreku continued to strike her. "I'm not losing to you. Not this time, not when you've hurt the city of Oriaro, not when you decided to mess with me and my friends. He grew frustrated and then his spear broke through the knives, shattering them into pieces as he struck her across the chest, causing her to scream in agony. Ah! I overpowered her and her weapons were completely destroyed now, but she still had a lot of fight left in her. She flipped through the air and landed behind him and tried to sidekick him, but he blocked just in time and shot 2 more water arrows at her, which left large bruises on her shoulder and knee. Ah, no way, you shouldn't be able to do any of this, she screamed, now showing more concern for her own life. I am changing, I am getting stronger. A smile formed on his face and he started unloading a flurry of punches and kicks up on her as he withdrew his spear. Now that I know your tricks, you're not so tough to me. What's wrong? I thought you said something about making me cry when I decided to put hands on you. He did a somersault and kicks her in the face. Then he raised his wand for a finishing attack. Okay, I'll go back home, and I'll never bother you again. Please don't do this, have some mercy. I'm your family, what's mom gonna say? She said with a panicked expression. Mama, no, don't fall for it, it doesn't matter what she thinks, what matters is taking her down. Not so much fun when you're not the one in control of the situation, face justice with my aqua cannon. He launched a 20-centimeter lance at her and she was hit by a large explosion of water as she was struck by it. And when the water settled down, she was standing there in shock and disbelief at what he did. No way, he was so much weaker before, he's not supposed to change, he's supposed to be what I tell him to be. After being struck by the aqua cannon, she collapsed on her knees and fell unconscious. He pants from exhaustion as he started crying slightly. I'm sorry, but you left me no choice, he said as he collapsed on his knees. What did you just do? Genisha asked. What I had to. I was always told you don't escalate the situation even if someone is being mean to you, but now I'm starting to think that mom was afraid I'd do something like this. Well, I'm proud of you. I know it wasn't easy standing up to her, but you did it anyway, and you did it to protect the civilians from her wrath, and now she'll think twice before she ever messes with you again. Adri said, attempting to cheer him up. Well, thank you for letting me borrow this, he said, returning the wand, but she refused it. No, keep it, I think you'll make better use of it than I would. He looked relieved but hurt at the same time. Why does she hate me so much? We used to be close, he asked. I don't know, but know that you have us. I know it's not the same, but I will always be there for you even if you make mistakes. Now let's lock her up. They were all approaching her, but suddenly felt the ground shaking. Cracks of fissure formed on the ground, separating the 3 vigilantes and deity from Diana. Ryu was about to fall into the cracks before Kreku and Adri caught her. Then a large Boaz man stood in front of them. You shall not pay a finger on my mate, but if you let us leave the city of Oriaro, we shall never bother you again. Kreku raised an eyebrow. Mate, I heard that was a term animal people use to describe their significant other, Ryu said. I have no idea what that means, Kreku replied. That's Diana's boyfriend, Adri said bluntly. Diana's got a boyfriend, he screamed. Do you not remember me, Kreku? I was there when we had that huge discussion with your mother. Oh yeah, I remember you now, he told him before he kicked him in the face, much to everyone's surprise. You trapped me in my own home and brutally tortured me for over an hour just because my sister said so, and you badmouthed my father even though you never met him. Wait, they did what you did? Genisha asked. I didn't clean my room because Diana made me mad, and when I was on my way to my karate class they showed up in our house and barricaded the door and bullied me while they held me down. Mama just watched it happen and even blasted me when I tried to run away from them, he said, trembling with anxiety. That's an exaggeration of what actually happened, he said, defending himself. No, everything he said is true. You brutal tortured a child for an action that was not even worth punishment. As his god, I can't overlook that. I hereby declare that you both declare that Diana be arrested for attempted murder of multiple civilians and Kreku. And you, what's your name? Warren. You're also placed under arrest for the 3 police force vigilantes while attempting to prevent the arrest of a known criminal. Kreku, Adri, restrain them and take them away, Ganesha ordered. Whoa, let's talk about this. Diana was just trying to bring you back to your mom's house and so she could apologize to you. Likely story, but you just tried to attack me. Keep your hands behind your back, and anything you say can and will be used against you in Lord Genisha's final judgment for your fate. It's about time justice gets served, and if you show any kind of resistance, I will blast you, he said, threatening him with his wand as it started glowing. Ryu took his place in arresting Warren. Kreiku, we'll take it from here, are you gonna be okay from now on? Actually, yes, for once I will move on, because now I will never be confused about who I am. Justice has been served, but I think I need to lay down for a while. My head hurts and I'm really damn tired. He collapsed on the ground unconscious. On that day, the rising star had risen to the challenge but now he had fallen.